So some of you may recognize those words as the lyrics to the song Harvest for the World by the Isley Brothers. And that's our question for today. When will there be a harvest for the world? So the irony and/or the paradox is that these days are both days of consternation and celebration. Consternation and celebration. And they both deserve our attention. Let's begin with celebration. Hats off to the dads, the fathers who are responsible for what I consider the most precious gift to mankind, and that is the children of the world. Without fathers and mothers, there would simply be no others. There'd be no you, no me. So without judgment, let us acknowledge and celebrate the gift, the miracle, and the potential imbued in fatherhood that allows all of us the opportunity to cultivate harvest hands. May it be so. Secondly, let us acknowledge what is to some people a novel holiday that we'll be celebrating tomorrow, Juneteenth. How many of you know that or remember that tomorrow's Juneteenth? Good. So for those of you who may still not be familiar with it, here's the gist of it. Juneteenth, officially Juneteenth National Independence Day, is a federal holiday in the United States commemorating the emancipation of the enslaved African Americans. Deriving its name from combining June and 19th, it is celebrated on the anniversary of the order issued by Major General Gordon Granger on June 19, 1865, proclaiming freedom for slaves in Texas. Originating in Galveston, Juneteenth has since been observed annually in various parts of the United States, often broadly celebrating African American culture. So the story goes that the folks in Galveston, Texas, were the last group to hear of the Emancipation Proclamation more than 2 years after Lincoln issued it on January 1st, 1863. The day was first recognized as a federal holiday in 2021 when President Joe Biden signed the Juneteenth National Independence Day Act into law. And as of May 30th, 2023, 25 states and the District of Columbia have made Juneteenth a paid holiday for state employees, while the remaining states maintaining a ceremonial observance of the day. So as we lean into becoming a more perfect union, here's to the emancipation of all of us, wherever oppression and repression rears its head in this country, from trans kids to women demanding bodily autonomy. Here's to the emancipation of all of us, not only in words, but in our hearts, our minds, and our actions. May it be so. Okay, now back to those harvest hands and to address some consternation. When Jesus looked out over the crowds, Matthew tells us, his heart broke. He saw folks that were bruised, hurt, damaged, full of despair. He saw what to many was an overwhelming problem. But what was Jesus' reaction? What was his response as he looked out over his broken world? Did he throw his hands up in defeat? Did he throw his hands up in defeat and retreat from the issues that were facing us? Just hold me a second. This computer keeps jumping around on me. Did he lament about what an overwhelming problem it was? Did he point fingers at those in governments and berate them for not tending to the needs of the lost and disconsolate? No, he said, what a harvest. What a harvest. What an opportunity. I just need more hands for harvesting. Instead of hemming and hawing and passing the buck on to some constabulary figures, Jesus immediately got to work. On your knees and pray for harvest hands, he said to his disciples. And then what happened? No sooner did they pray than their prayers were answered. The disciples gained the power to dismiss the evil spirits and to tenderly care for their sick and bruised lives. Jesus just needed more hands for the harvest. And I have no doubt that as Jesus now looks down from the clouds, surveying our present landscape, he's saying to himself, the world just needs more harvest hands. There are more concerns today, but there are also more hands for harvesting. What will it take to mobilize the God people, the inherently good people? What will it take to mobilize the people who are susceptible to deception, the people who are so distracted because of their need to seek food, housing, and health care, so distracted that they can't take time to distinguish between misinformation, disinformation, and the truth? What will it take? If we only had eyes to see and ears to hear and wits to understand, we would know that the kingdom of God, in the sense of holiness, goodness, and beauty, is as close as breathing and is crying out to be born both within ourselves and within the world. We would know that the kingdom of God is what we, all of us, hunger for above all other things, even when we don't know its name or realize that it's what we're starving to death for. The kingdom of God is where our best dreams come from and our truest prayers. We glimpse it at those moments when we find ourselves being better than we are and wiser than we know. We catch sight of it when at some moment of crisis, a strength comes to us that is greater than our own strength. The kingdom of God is where we belong. It is home, and whether we realize it or not, I think we are, all of us, homesick for it. So that's what Frederick Buechner, the noted theologian and writer, suggests. What I would add is that we simply need to remember who we really are and where we come from. We come from the source of all possibilities. And it's a source that I intuit wants us all to have the best possible lives. And to make that happen, we were each given an extravagant gesture of love. We were each given to each other, equipped with harvest hands to harvest a land of good and plenty, where there is plenty of abundance for all. I think we need to remember who we really are and the source from which we all emanated. Some of us, I think, need constant reminders because of our short attention spans and susceptibility to distraction, which is often the result of just being spent and worn out. We've somehow managed to make this living thing much more difficult than it needs to be. I think that humans essentially have short attention spans, and for some folks, that's intentionally convenient. But we were wisely, I think, given a remedy for our forgetfulness. It makes sense to me that the Sabbath is our day of remembrance and renewal. Times have undoubtedly changed, and we here at United Christian are struggling, like so many others, to adapt to those changes. I just hope that as we weather this new social and spiritual revolution, we don't manage to throw out the baby with the bathwater. Because despite the trend of declining church attendance, we still need and are dependent on each other. We were literally made for each other, and that's why we are here. So I think we need to figure out how to do church differently. We're already doing that. The old way may not work, but We've been doing church for a long time. As we collectively recover from the loss and grief engendered by this pandemic, as we confront and adjust to climate change, as we all become familiar with the term gaslighting and attempt to discern fact from fiction, we need each other more than ever. We need each other's harvest hands. So in my opinion, the church is not going away. It's been part of our DNA for eons. We need to figure out a different way or new way to do it. And like Buechner said, the kingdom of God is where we belong. It is our home, whether we realize it or not. And I think all of us are homesick for it. So, when will there be a harvest for the world? Jesus sent his 12 harvest hands out with this charge, which I now extend to you, fellow followers and disciples. Don't begin by traveling to some far-off place to convert unbelievers. And don't try to be dramatic by tackling some public enemy. Go to the lost, confused people right here in the neighborhood. Tell them that the kingdom is here. Bring health to the sick, raise the dead, comfort and encourage the lost and despairing, touch the untouchables, expel the demons. You have been treated generously, so live generously. You were given harvest hands. So in closing, and to put a point on all this, I'm going over to the piano and I'm going to sing a song that I wrote that I think is a reminder of what the Creator, the loving source of our being, thinks of all of you.